Hello, my name is Peter Avenant, and what I'd like to do today is show you a preview of some of the metadata features that's coming in the next version of Mist 4.0. Without further ado, let me jump straight into Mist 4.0 for you. Within Mist 4.0, we've added a lot of extra features, but today I'd like to draw your attention on the metadata model, the metadata instance features that we've added. You can add a new metadata model by right-clicking on the metadata and saying Add Metadata Model. And once you've done that, it'll give you a user interface. I'm just going to go quickly show you one that I've prepared earlier. Creating a metadata model is quite easy. With our user interface, you can add entities, mappings, relationship, properties, and validators. So I have already pre-created this metadata model. And in my connections, you can see here that I've got entity relationships. Now think about this in the context of entities are tables. Entity relationships are probably your foreign keys between these tables or these entities. And your properties over here are your columns, where you would add your data. So you can define your metadata model using the user interface, creating all of these different things. Now I'm not going to show you mappings or validators today. Those are a little bit more advanced features. Everything we've developed, we give you a user interface like this, where it's easy for you to add things, or you can go in the back of it and right click and say view BIML and then edit things through the BIML. I've actually got an existing metadata model that I have just used to pre-populate all of this BIML for me. And I've copied and pasted it in here, hit save, and my entire model was built for me. So you can almost generate your model from an existing data dictionary if you choose to. Let me just close that down. So once you've defined your model, it's very easy to add a metadata instance. Once you've added the metadata instance, you again get a user interface where you can pick the model that this metadata instance belongs to, pick your entity, and then start adding data items, properties, or relationships. Now I've already created the metadata instance here called framework instance. And again, if you look at the user interface, here you have all of my data items. I have all of my properties set over here, and I can define my relationships again over here. And again, if I right click this, I can go and view the BIML in the backend. Because this is a very quick preview, I just want to show you also how you can actually just populate your instance with data that may already exist in a database. You may choose to keep your metadata in a database or an Excel file. So I'm just going to very quickly show you how, if you were to manage everything in Excel, how you would connect that up. So I'll delete this guy. While that's happening, I've got an Excel file here where I've defined my connections, my tables, my columns over here, and I've defined my source to target mappings, and I'm all maintaining this all in Excel. Now in my case, I also have a web service that I push this up to the database, but if you didn't have all of that and you just wanted to go and manage all of your metadata in Excel, I'll show you how you can very quickly hook that up to your metadata instance. So I'm going to go back into Mist here and I'll show you the code behind it. So just quickly demonstrate this to you. So here I've created a metadata instance called framework instance, connecting to my framework model. Then I just define a couple of things like an entity, connections, projects, tables. Now these names I have to be the same in my case than these sheet names in my Excel file. And then I just use that to call a BIML script of entity instance. What that entity instance does, again, I'll just show this very quickly. It's just a call BIML script, and as you can see, there is not a lot of code. It will dynamically go through and reads the table, reads all of the header information, and then it'll match it up. What I mean by that is that if I'm in my connection and I find a connection name here or connection string there, catalog, it will match that to whatever I have defined in my framework model here. And if I just look at the BIML here, it'll go and say, well, is the connection name equal? Is the name of the property equal to the name of the header in Excel? And then bring all of that metadata in for me. So again, as you can see there, with a very small amount of BIML script code, I can right click on this and then say convert to live BIML script, and that will create me a metadata framework instance that is connected to either an Excel file or a database or a web service or wherever you choose to keep your data dictionary. You can obviously do all of that in Mist, or you can have an external source because we allow you to do that. And again, if I open this up, because it's a live file, I can't see it, but you'll see all of my metadata is imported. And what you can now do is you can reference that framework and metadata instance to then drive all of the BIML files in your project. As a quick aside, the metadata framework that I've built outside of Mist using Excel and a web service is about 5 times slower than the metadata instance that I can build inside of Mist. Because Mist brings everything into an in-memory object inside of Mist, it is so much faster for a development experience. So I really recommend that going forward you do look into the new metadata features coming into Mist 4.0. I would just like to thank you for your time, and before we release Mist 4.0, we are actually going to put a lot more content around the new features of Mist 4.0 on the web and on bimlscript.com. So with that, thank you for your time again, and hope to see you soon on another webinar.